Running Scared was a 2006 released crime thriller written and directed by Wayne Kramer.
Yeah, it stars Paul Walker as Joey, a kind of low-level thug for a crime family. After a drug deal goes wrong and some people are shot, he's charged with disposing of some guns. Basically, there's some dirty cops that busted in on this drug deal. And one of them gets shot with this gun. So he's charged with getting rid of it. However, he doesn't. He stores it in his basement as a sort of insurance policy because, criminals don't really trust other criminals. So he hides it where he thinks it's safe. But unfortunately, he doesn't realise that his son and his son's best friend, who happens to be a neighbour as well, are down in the basement and see him put the gun there. Then they're having dinner, and suddenly there's a gunshot from next door, and the bullet comes flying through the window. So Joey runs round, and to find out that the boy next door has shot his stepfather, who's a bit of a abusive.
John Wayne loving.
Yeah, John Wayne loving Russian. Yeah, who's also sort of mixed up in organised crime as well. So the boy legs it. And, of course, Joey is desperate to get this gun back because if the police get to it, then they can tie it back to him and his criminal buds. So, the film then goes on from there, and it's him chasing this gun round town, and it passes from person to person, and he's always one step behind. And he was also looking for the boy Oleg. So, as I mentioned, it stars Paul Walker, obviously most famous for the Fast and Furious franchise. Sadly passed away a few years ago in a car accident. So yeah, and he's really good in this. I think he's sort of similar character to he's playing. Well, not that similar, but obviously mixed up in criminal activities. Like they were, back in the original Fast and Furious. It's kind of turned into something a bit different these days. He plays it very differently in this. He's constantly frantic about finding this gun, and I think it definitely shows a different side to his acting. And it would have been interesting to see what he would have moved on to after he was finally done with the Fast and Furious, maybe after Fast and Furious 20 or something. He might have called it a day. Who knows? You've also got Vera Farmiga as his wife, who you probably seen in The Departed, and she plays Mrs. Bates in the Bates Motel TV series.
Oleg, the boy, is played by Cameron Bright, who I think he turned up in Birth, the Nicole Kidman, Rosemary's Baby-esque film.
Yeah.
And Chaz Palminteri, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Who's been in lots of films.
Yeah.
Name one.
Usual Suspects.
You're right, he was. That's correct.
There you go.
And many others.
Loads. I mean, he's quite a fixture in sort of mafioso style films, isn't he? So, there's a couple of other faces you might recognise. There's Michael Cudlitz, who has a small role in it, who Walking Dead fans will recognise.
So, it was directed by Wayne Kramer, who was originally from South Africa, but I think moved over to the States quite couple of decades ago.
Yeah.
He's done a few. The Cooler.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've not.
He's just done about 6 full feature lengths,
okay.
I think, and I think The Cooler is probably the most famous. I mean, he did make a Harrison Ford film a few years ago, didn't he? Crossing Over. I haven't seen that, but The Cooler is definitely worth checking out. It's really good. If you haven't seen it, I'll lend it to you.
Okay, so the film itself, you like it?
I like it. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a throwback to sort of more gritty crime dramas of the 70s and 80s when adult films are made for adults.
Yeah, there was that period, wasn't there, where we had a lot of kind of action films that were kind of rated 12. And,
so it came out in 2006, and that's roughly, I think Die Hard 4 was 2007, wasn't it? And that was like 12 or PG-13, whatever, rated Die Hard film, which is like, what? And then there was a slew of action movies that kids could go and watch.
We came from a time when 18 rated films were pretty. I mean, I suppose to today's standards, they're maybe not so graphic, but at the time they were, pretty full on.
Yeah.
And then they started to get less and less. We got older and older, and their ratings went down, and they became a bit wet round the edges.
Yeah.
But yes, no, you're right. It is a it's very violent. This film.
It is. Yeah.
I found it almost too violent. But I have a feeling that's partly to do with my age. If I was 20, I probably would have gone with this a bit more.
Yeah.
I find this stuff a little bit too much. I mean, I think it's got some interesting things in there. I liked the. There's a little bit of. I thought it was like a nastier version of Adventures in Babysitting. Remember that one? Because it's the boy and he's like going through the night and he's meeting all these unsavoury people. Vile
pimps and hookers and drug dealers and things.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then of course there's kind of little suggestions in there to Grimm's fairy tales. There's strange. Actually, you'll see shadows of people, and they look like vampires. They've got claws and things. And
it kind of uses that, but still keeps it in the real world just about. I mean, there's lots of crazy camera moves and weird shots and lots of like fast cuts that not like Michael Bay fast cutting or
no, but I mean, there was maybe my problem in it was that I felt like the director maybe had a weekend feast of Tarantino, Scorsese, and David Fincher, taken all the interesting bits and just slapped it together into one film.
It's not exactly the most original film ever, and there's plenty of other, organised crime, mafia style movies that are out there for you to choose from. It's not,
It's not as terrible as I thought it might. I mean, I can't. It reminded me of films. I mean, I guess obviously modern ones. You've got things like Crank and Hardcore Henry. I mean, it's not quite as stylised and over the top. It starts more over the top, and then it
tones down a little bit, doesn't it? If you think about it, like I said, when it was released, it was quite an unusual film. Like an action film. Well, it's not really an action film, but like a crime-based film that wasn't for kids. It made a nice change, I think, when it came out. Yeah. Now, it's kind of moving back towards grown-up films for grown-ups. The DVD, easy to pick up.
Must be able to find it online somewhere streaming.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah, it is released on Blu-ray in the US if you want to go the HD route. But yeah, probably streaming.
So that was Running Scared, and if you enjoyed this video, give us a like or subscribe.
Yep, thanks for watching. Check us out on Twitter and Facebook as well. We're on there, and stay tuned for another one next week.